The time has come to conquer our last remaining frontiers and lead the resistance to victory on all fronts.
Gentlemen, it's time for battle. It's time for a war in Europe. I'm not talking about current events. I'm talking about a video game that's coming out in a couple of months. Battlefield 1. You guys were getting access apparently to the closed alpha, which there's gameplay popping up all over the place at the moment. But you guys played a bunch during E3, and I haven't had a chance to talk to you guys about it yet. So I'm intrigued.
I actually don't think we ever did like a post impressions of it. We kind of
Got a few, like 3 video features, 4 video features, 4 written things.
Yeah.
I think I published like 4 previews.
But we didn't have a little chinwag about it.
Exactly.
Between Battlefield fans.
Yeah.
So I guess to ask Rob, first of all, what did you play? What were they showing off, and how long did you play and all that?
We played Conquest on that map. Basically, the live stream they showed off after their press conference.
The Snoop Dogg 420
you know it.
map. Okay.
No pot smoking in this one, but
No, just kidding.
But yeah, we played Conquest. Mike and I played. I think we played like 2 matches. They kind of cut them a little short.
Right.
We played another mode, which we're not supposed to talk about yet, but
Right.
it's in the closed alpha. But we did play like a second. It's not even a different mode, really.
Yeah. And that's embargo.
You've played a bunch of Battlefield.
We
that's
played
it.
a
I think it
lot.
was 2 hours total. We were there. For me,
cool.
the weekend was 2 hours total. I think.
Yeah, he played more, but
You might have gotten like 3 or 4 matches in or something.
All right, let's talk about how it felt then. So I guess on the ground, infantry, does it feel like Battlefield 4? Does it feel familiar, or does it feel like the jump we got between 2 and 3?
It definitely feels like a more different era. I mean, the bullet travel time is a little different. I mean, just like then Battlefield 3 and 4. I was sniping a good deal of the time as a scout, and I had to lead my targets. I was missing for a while at first, but then I got a little better toward the end. Yeah, it feels very much. It does feel like a World War II game.
Right.
it's so World War II.
The weapons you see in here were around during World War I, to speak historically about it, but they were more like prototypes, or like elite squads were kind of experimenting with them.
Yeah.
But it feels very much like there's a lot of weight to the guns, as Battlefield is one to do. The actual time to kill is pretty. I mean, if I shot someone with a sniper rifle, they're either dead or I had just hit them once more. It felt really good. I mean, we were on mouse and keyboard, which I don't, for Battlefield games, I don't traditionally, or I mean, I used to, but I've been so accustomed to controllers lately that it actually felt good though on mouse and keyboard. Aside from when I was in vehicles, then it became a little unwieldy.
Yeah, it's really hard to fly a plane with a mouse.
Right, yeah.
As I found
You've
out.
been looking around for your joystick all day today.
Yeah, I have been.
Have you found it?
Found it.
Okay, good
Drew
stuff.
had it.
Typical. So let's talk about some of the vehicles then in that respect. Did you jump into any of the airplanes while you were there?
Oh, you know it. I was able to get a taste for each one of them, and Mike and I actually are doing a little feature on like what is different about the air combat, and it is probably the most exciting part, for at least for me, and as far as all the games go of Battlefield series. They're really diversifying roles you play. Yes, like prior you had like, you know, your strict air combat dogfighting planes, and as always you had like a ground attack plane.
Yeah.
Here you have that as well. Bombers, attack planes with turrets, and fighters, which are very much like agile. You're doing loops around bombers with turrets. And I think one of the biggest things to take away is that this time around, what really changes the dogfighting game is that bombers have 2 turrets. No longer, in my opinion, what you'll see is no longer can I attack a bomber like a classic behind his 6.
Yeah.
I got shredded immediately by that back turret.
Right.
So now you have this fighter class, the triplane. Yeah, I killed him. You have the triplane, which is so agile, and it almost is tasked. It's like a sniper plane, but it's so agile. It's meant to basically, I think, do loops and get underneath these bombers.
Right.
You cannot attack bombers now right from behind.
Yeah,
them.
from behind, yeah.
And
So you're
that's
coming from underneath them, from the side,
sides,
presumably above.
Exactly. Get unpredictable for these turrets, because these turrets can rip these planes apart. And
So how many people are in some of these planes then?
bombers have 3, so a front turret, back turret.
3 max, right? Were there any
Yes.
planes with? Yeah, I think there was either 3 or less.
So they kind of work like the tanks do. Then you've got like a driver and somebody on turret or something.
yeah, totally.
That's cool. Did you guys jump into the tanks at all?
I did. I did like an armored car, so it was like a car with like a few side turrets, but like the main turret on top, and just hose people because like again the dynamic weather sets in.
Right.
You can't see anything. It's so foggy. So people are just like making a blind corner, and I'm just at a checkpoint, just hosing down. Guys, that was a really fun aspect of it.
That's where the destruction also comes into play. The footage playing right now is I crawled into this attic of a farmhouse trying to look for a good vantage point, and I had this tiny window, but all of a sudden a tank just hit the place and tore off the wall. It's like, oh, there we go. And I kind of just held out here for a while, but the destruction, I mean, when you combine the actual aerial combat with the ground combat, because we were talking before, the like in terms of being historically accurate, these planes, I have no idea how close they are. I'm not like an aviary expert for that period, but they are slower, so you can dogfight, right? You can come up from below bombers, like you were saying, which you probably wouldn't want to do if they were bombing at the time. But they're actually, the bombers are tied to the ground combat in such a way that, like, at one point when the fog rolled in, I had a flare, and I was like, oh, that's what this is for. The bomber couldn't see the ground, didn't know like where people were, so I shot a flare up.
Yeah, that's why they have it for sure.
So I was wishing he was in the bomber because we didn't have like microphones with the other people at the event. But I shot a flare up. I'm like, oh, that'd be perfect if I was like, Rob, see that flare? Just bomb that area. I'm gonna get out of there. It's at a control point. You'll take care of it.
The fog is actually pretty intense. I would say, I mean, for an alpha game, they probably want to tone it back because you're flying around, you cannot see jack shit.
Yeah, so you can't even see buildings or anything or
nothing.
Like terrain.
Just the icons on your mini map, right? Like just like here's kind of where A is, but it's just white.
If you're on the ground too, the fog just makes the entire battle close quarters. But I also used it for an opportunity to charge across this open field that we couldn't cross before because there's like 3 scouts covering it.
Can you take out the planes then from the ground?
Yeah, you can. Rob knows you can because I did it to
both
him.
had back and forth moments. Yeah,
With what?
They showed it just earlier, actually.
I killed him, he killed me. And so I took him down. I was a fighter. I took him down, and he was in a bomber. And then I was flying a bomber, and he... So this is really great. So this is, again, like what makes this game so awesome is that vehicle, especially in air, you take personal damage as well as vehicle damage. So he straight up, I would like review the footage, he straight up with a machine gun shot me out as a pilot in the head. I died immediately.
That's amazing.
The vehicle took like 3% damage.
The way it was shot was perfect.
It was crazy.
I was shooting at the plane,
He
like
led it
leading
so
it.
nicely.
And then
It was
I
awesome.
was like behind a building, and then I was like, okay, I think it said I got a kill. So I went to the other side to look, and then on the other side, the plane was like plummeting to the ground. And then I got the gunner kill, right?
And then he gets the gunner kill because I had a front gunner who was probably like, hey, what's going on back there? So he blows
Kind of
up.
a steep dive we're in.
Yeah. So he gets that kill. And I want to touch on also is like another new aspect of these vehicles is this is incredible to me is that for the first time, depending on where I take down a bomber, say I shoot up his right wing, his right engine, that affects the controls.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. So my right aileron goes out. I'm now constantly battling the dip of that.
Oh, wow.
Just as a tank, you can take out the left like treads of a tank. Now it can't turn as
In circles.
Yeah, exactly.
Can you like
Compensate.
make a like? Because I know you can sort of mess with the terrain as well. Is there any way of like creating like an improvised like trench that the tank would fall into or something?
Yeah. So one thing that he had noticed, well, to get into the airship later, the behemoths, but this is sort of along those lines. I was telling him, I might have talked about this already, maybe not in the lobby yet, but artillery came in. There's like, it's 64 player battles, so there's like 5 other guys with me defending this outpost. All of a sudden we hear like whistling. We're like, oh my God. Artillery just pounds us. I'm the only one of the 6 alive. I'm like half dead. But the artillery created craters. So I crawled into one. I didn't fire a shot for like 45 seconds, but I held out inside the zone for long enough for my team to get back with armored trucks and just come out like...
God.
I didn't have a medic nearby either, but in terms of creating cover, I guess like the behemoth is a good example. Like what you showed me earlier, which I didn't even know was possible with the choke point.
I really went into the Reddits and like found out all these things. So there are the undercarriages of the behemoth. Like people were kind of...
What's a behemoth for people?
I'm sorry, the big giant zeppelin that blows up in the end. You can take out the... they're calling them the gondolas, which is where the pilots and the gunners reside.
Right.
People were originally shooting like the actual blimp itself, which is fine, you're doing damage, but your actual role is to take out these gondolas. So for instance, the front gondola is where the pilot who dropped bombs and has 2 side gunners, you're taking out that guy because what it does is now for the respawn length of the gondola coming back, it's the blimp is now inoperable as far as pilot and can't drop bombs.
Right.
Or those 2 gunners now aren't
You're not
there.
like knocking the gondola off. You're like,
if you
you're
destroy
knocking
it.
it off. So I saw footage
Really?
of- dude, it falls down and then creates a secondary explosion on the ground. And will
Destroys buildings, craters.
Can decimate whoever is below it.
So with the pilot, I wonder what it looks like from their perspective. Are they just like in control of the thing and then it just falls?
I would imagine he dies immediately. Actually, I think he does. That would be great. But I mean, geez, you
God.
could probably still spawn in it, and maybe you're spawning as it's falling. Who knows?
That's nuts.
Yeah, and that like even touches on. I was playing Battlefield 4 last night. Like, yes, there's some destructible environment, like just the side walls of buildings, and I think some buildings go down. But like a tank was shooting me, and like I was still able to like hide in a building
Right.
and take cover. Not in this game. Like you are leveling buildings. You run into a barn, you're not safe. You know, like a tank can just bust in the front door, and kill you. It's just
You got like
awesome.
I mean, they said producer Alex Grondel at E3 they're not trying to make a documentary, so
Yeah.
if you're expecting completely, maybe the campaign will be more historically accurate and they could tell like the unsung stories of like, you know, like the Harlem Hellfighters or
Yeah.
something. But in the multiplayer, they're taking liberties just to make it a fun game.
Yeah, they definitely seem to be trying to have their cake and eat it with that. Where they're
Yeah.
like, look, we have all this historical World War I stuff,
It's
but
weird.
also
I mean-
fucking YOLO.
Yeah, since the reveal, they've
Got it.
kind of toned back on the setting, like using that as a marketing device
Yeah.
anymore. Because you have mustard gas, but they're like grenades you throw. It's
right,
actually
okay.
pretty cool though. I mean, in terms of how it works, it's like just like a poison gas grenade, and if you run into it, you'll die within like 2 seconds if you don't. But everybody has a gas mask. You just tap T on
Right.
the keyboard. You'll throw your gas mask on. Your field of view will become more narrow. You'll have like blinders on. The sound effects of this game in general are unreal. Like
dice.
really between it's dice, and then like it'll become muffled. But you'll run into the smoke, or the gas, and just start like I had a submachine gun at one point and got like 4 kills. Took the point
Gosh.
just because I had mustard gas.
Dude, another thing about the Behemoth is like having reviewed the footage is, you know, this thing comes down and it's just wreckage, the shell of this thing. You could essentially, because the halfway through the game, or it's not confirmed yet, but for the beta or the alpha's sake, halfway through the losing team gets that Zeppelin.
Yeah.
It's coming down. As a pilot,
So no matter what they get it, do you think? Because it's kind of a weird
I think
mechanic,
it's
isn't it?
It's that game mode specifically, but it's
Okay.
also not always halfway. I think there's a certain point where they're like, okay, this team's getting smoked. They need it.
right. I think it's actually a ticket gap. If,
Right.
if they're getting crushed.
If it's like
Yeah.
over, say, 50 or something,
Right.
maybe. Or
Then
It's like
you're
a blue
getting it.
shell.
Yeah.
okay, right.
Yeah. Yeah. You just get it. That's a great concept. Yeah.
Just a really big one.
Anyways, as a pilot, hey, I got 5 seconds before this thing blows. We're losing still. I have a capture point that's mine, and the Germans are coming in and they're going to completely overrun it. Why not position my blimp, separating the opposing team, and basically creating a giant
Like trench or something? Or
skeleton like
framework
obstacle, just a
stays.
huge
Right.
obstacle around my own team.
so messed up.
That's totally what you could do, because it
Yeah.
takes like a while. You can't just like run through this wreckage.
You're
like
just dropping
you see
helms
people-
deep on these
Yeah,
people.
like you see people just trying to get over it. So like again, that's a strategic device. That thing coming down, which is really great. Oh, and supposedly reviewing the footage again, this is great. Is supposedly as it's going down. I went back and looked at it because I saw in a Reddit comment. There is a dude running up the top of the blimp
As
as
it's
it's falling down.
He's outrunning
It's one guy. You see him sprinting up.
with like a wall of flame following him.
Supposedly, you can
making it home to mama.
Oh shit! Not like this, dude. It goes down. You can ride it down because the top part of it actually doesn't ever catch flame.
Oh, right.
Supposedly, like someone was able to do it was to jump off in the last second and survive.
Because you can does everyone have a parachute?
Yeah,
It's like
I think
just
so.
a quick parachute button, like the gas
Yeah,
mask thing.
I think
Okay.
so.
Which that's just
Wow.
another one of those things that makes the game more fun because you could just whoever you are, you can jump
Yeah.
out like over what you like what you did. You might have mentioned this. You were in the plane, jumped out of the plane onto the airship,
Right.
and then afterward parachuted out of the airship once you were over like one of the.
Oh, so you can
points.
just keep pulling that thing.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't matter.
Well,
I think so. You got like 17 reserve shoots on your back.
Well, that's Battlefield, though. You always
Yeah.
had that. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, and the Behemoth was interesting too because like I had to leave it because the guy who was piloting it was a moron. He was like going on out of the map, and I'm a side turret and I can't move, and I'm just like shooting off map. Like,
Yeah.
I'm out of here. I don't know. So it's just interesting to see where these things are going to go.
A lot of questions here. Diabolus X is saying pity Zeppelin confirmed. That's pretty good. I don't like multiplayer awards based off of kill streak, says Bob Jones 1980. Did you see any insight into what they were looking at for unlocks and whatnot, like character progression? Was there any of that stuff in relation to the weaponry?
There were a lot of weapons.
They're all
I will say
unlocked for
that.
us, though.
Okay.
Yeah, only like 4 or 5 for each class, but then you could see 10 more were unlockable. And these
Right.
were weapons that are typically associated with one class. So you had a whole bunch of weapons with, but there will be attachments and customization options.
Right.
Yeah, I was using
That's
like
for
a Mosin Nagant with like the Russian sniper rifle with a German sniper, but then there were already attachments to it. I'm pretty sure for the purpose of our event, we didn't see the progression, but we got the rewards right away. It was just, they were all outfitted. The guns were all outfitted.
Yeah, well, and then you can even definitely take a look at the whatever that pre-order DLC they had, which is like Red Baron skin.
Right. Yeah.
So you're customizing your planes as well.
They made a big deal of the hand-to-hand stuff in the trailer. Did you guys implement that at all? Did you find yourselves just shooting?
I got bayoneted like 6 times. I don't know.
Right.
I wasn't even sure how people were doing it because not every weapon has a bayonet, but
I tried it. That's it. Actually, people have been like discussing like whether or not like how is it gonna work? So say you and I both charge bayonet at the same time.
Gears of War style.
there is a
like going
counter.
to,
There
like,
is a counter.
There is a counter.
Yeah, I don't know
Yeah,
how to do it.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I think there was a Mythbusters that some YouTuber did. And he said that if I basically, if in order to take you down, if we're bayoneting each other, I have to be the last one to engage it.
Right.
So if I see you rushing me with it and I go, I'll take you down.
Okay.
So
Knock it out of the
What if
way.
they shot
Yeah.
you in the face?
It's a good point. The bullet is mightier than the sword, as the old saying goes.
Yeah.
Any other thoughts? Anything little me didn't catch up on? I didn't see it. You guys experienced it. What was?
I just love how, and this could go 2 ways, I think, at the end of the day, but I just love how there aren't lock-on missiles. There aren't like all these future modernistic approaches to war that like this is just again like a callback to like Battlefield 1942, which like just skill.
Yeah.
Just like lead the shots, figure out where to shoot. I mean, now you're getting even more specific, with planes and like, okay,
here
I
it is,
gotta
right here.
shoot the engine.
Oh, is that when you shot him?
Yeah. Then
Oh, that's amazing.
So I look
Great. So
here
he
and
looks-
it's just plummeting.
Yeah. I just think it's a callback to 1942 in that it's like bring back the skill, just how I felt with like how Halo kind of tried that with the new one.
Like less hit scan weapons, more just
Yeah.
like you kind of have to like aim the shot and be true. What do you think, Mike? Any last thoughts on it? Excited for it?
Yeah, I'm really excited. Like I said, I was initially disappointed at how much of a World War II game it felt, but then I played for like 2 hours and it's fun. And I wasn't expecting, like they said, a documentary.
Yeah.
The pronunciation of which I get made fun of for.
Yeah, that was.
around
I was
here.
literally about to say it. That was really weird.
Pete Brown calls me out on it.
Yeah,
That's a tangent though. but,
Documentary.
it's documentary. It's elementary school. You don't say secretary.
Well, you do if you live in Europe.
Sorry, this has
Secretary.
been pent up for a while.
Documentary. What was the other one?
Everyone's wrong.
Secretary.
Secretary.
Not secretary.
Secretary. You say.
Do you say secretary?
Yeah.
Secretary.
I say secretary.
You're just trying to
here.
prove a point now.
What was the middle one? Elementary.
Elementary school.
Say primary school. Doesn't matter.
Primary.
Should ask Mary.
Battlefield
Mary
1.
calls herself Mary. Well, yeah, I guess she does.
Marie.
Murray. No.
Murray.
Battlefield 1's really fun. I'm excited for it.
Murray.
It's been a long 2 weeks here
Sorry.
in the GameSpot offices. Murray. Our very own Murray is coming over the voice of God saying to wrap it up. Thank you both. Hassan had the same thing as me. Documentary. It's like a guy called Terry who makes Sorry, Mary. Okay, let's wrap it up. That's Battlefield 1. We'll be putting up a bunch of Battlefield 1 stuff, I'm guessing, over the next couple of days.
Yeah, a lot.
Embargo's over soon, so expect some Battlefield 1 stuff early next week or
July
maybe this
5th.
weekend.
We
Okay.
can start putting up stuff
Right.
from the alpha.
God. Okay.
Tuesday
Real
next week, I believe.
hungover video features hitting GameSpot
It's
on
gonna be a
July
long
5th.
weekend.
Yeah. So check out GameSpot.com and YouTube.com/GameSpot. Some of that hot stuff.